Hello and welcome to Salty About Health. My name is Dalaney Algier, and I'm here with my mom and co-host, Mary. So, Mom, why are we salty about health?
Good question. It's because both of us have had struggles, some more serious than others, and no one showed us simple ways we could jump into the driver's seat and take control.
And why are we sharing our views with our listeners?
Well, because we want our listeners to realize that it may take time, but with some simple knowledge about health, they'll be able to make a few changes and dig deeper to take control of their well being and live a more vibrant life.
That's fantastic. But right now, before we get into all of that, we just need to do some housekeeping. Here we go. This is an opinion-based podcast. This is not in any way offered as a diagnosis or treatment for any disease, illness, or infirmity for physical or mental condition or any other condition you may have. We are not doctors or practitioners of any kind. Persons needing medical care should obtain it from a medical practitioner. So, consult your practitioner before making any health decision. The opinions offered here in this podcast are ours alone. Again, we're not doctors, and the banter you're going to be listening to is our view and our view alone. Okay, that's done. We, of course, also want to have an open dialogue with our listeners. So stay tuned to the end of the episode, and we'll let you know all of the ways that we can connect. Welcome, everyone. Excited to have our listeners back for episode 6. Today, we're talking about mosquitoes and the diseases and parasites that they can transmit, as well as some natural ways to keep them at bay. We're doing this episode on mosquitoes because a listener emailed us after our first podcast about parasites and had no idea mosquitoes could transmit them, and the listener asked us to expand on that topic. We love that you all are engaging with us and benefiting from our information, and we thought we would tackle this subject that they suggested. So stay tuned. I guarantee you will learn things about mosquitoes that you never knew before.
Yeah, so let's jump right in and define what a mosquito is. It is a slender, long-legged fly with aquatic larvae. Did you have any idea they were related to flies, Delaney?
They're both annoying, so it crossed my mind.
The bite of the blood-sucking female can transmit a number of serious viruses and parasites, including malaria and encephalitis. Because mosquitoes are known to breed in standing water, many people are raising questions about the role of natural and artificial ponds and wetlands in relation to mosquito populations. Actually, both male and female mosquitoes eat the same things: nectar, plant sap, or honeydew. Not the honeydew melon that you and I eat. It's a sticky substance excreted by aphids. Perhaps we can try that one, Delaney. Next time I serve you honeydew, you can.
Ew, actually, okay, honeydew the fruit gives me a headache for indeterminate reasons. Anyways, but aren't aphids what ladybugs eat? So we should just have more ladybugs in the world.
I have no idea what ladybugs eat, but we have lots of ladybugs, so that's a good thing, you know. But only female mosquitoes drink a blood meal.
So they eat regular things and bite us? What is that about?
I know.
Salty, guys. I am salty.
You are also going to learn that they actually pollinate flowers too.
What? Really?
But honestly, we're probably wondering why mosquitoes even exist. So Delaney, to be fair, she found some information on the internet to justify their existence.
Which I guess I have to tell everyone. So, mosquitoes seem to serve no purpose other than to annoy us, especially me. But from the mosquitoes' point of view, their purpose is to make more mosquitoes. From the point of view of birds, fish, frogs, and other animals that eat them, their purpose is to provide a source of food. However, mosquitoes do serve an important function in numerous ecosystems, serving as food for many species, helping filter waste or debris of any kind for plant life to thrive, and they do actually pollinate flowers. And a PSA, an FYI, Iceland has no mosquitoes because it has a very low temperature, which can reach as low as negative 38 degrees Celsius and freeze the Icelandic water, making it impossible for mosquitoes to breed. The country has 3 major freezes and thaws every year, which create conditions too unstable for the survival of the mosquitoes. And unfortunately, too cold for mom and I to live there, or else that would be a bonus that there's no mosquitoes there.
Yes, yes, we've actually been there at the end of June to the beginning of July one year, and it was not negative 38. It was actually kind of nice, and we had a wonderful time.
We did.
Okay, so let's not make these bloodsuckers endearing.
Nope.
Let's talk about all the parasites and viruses they can spread because it has been said mosquitoes cause more human suffering than any other organism. They may, but I know ticks are probably right up there with them. Over 1 million people worldwide die from mosquito-borne diseases every year. The website outbreaknewstoday.com listed the top 13 parasites and viruses transmitted from mosquitoes, so we'll go over a few. First, you should know that there are more than 3,000 species of mosquitoes, but the members of 3 of those species bear primary responsibility for the spread of human diseases. So let's start talking about the parasites and viruses that they spread. And we're going to start with malaria. Malaria is a mosquito-borne disease caused by a parasite. Once in the human bloodstream, it multiplies inside red blood cells, which then burst after a few days, spreading more infection to other red blood cells and causing severe headache, nausea, vomiting, fever, coma, and other symptoms. People with malaria often experience symptoms 10 to 15 days after the mosquito bite. Left untreated, they may develop severe complications and die. In 2018, an estimated 228 million cases of malaria occurred worldwide and 405,000 people died, mostly children in the African region. About 2,000 cases of malaria are diagnosed in the United States each year. The vast majority of cases in the United States are in travelers and immigrants returning from countries where malaria transmission occurs, many from sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. The parasites in mosquitoes that spread malaria belong to the Plasmodium genus. Over 100 types of Plasmodium parasite can infect a variety of species. Different types replicate at different rates, changing how quickly the symptoms escalate and the severity of the disease. 5 types of Plasmodium parasite can infect humans. These occur in different parts of the world. Some cause a more severe type of malaria than others. And did you know female mosquitoes pick up the parasite from infected people when they bite to obtain blood needed to nurture their eggs? Inside the mosquito, the parasites reproduce and develop.
It's so gross.
It was absolutely amazing just to do the research on malaria and to see how that spreads. The parasite goes from one red cell to another. And if you've ever looked at a blood sample, I mean, they're tiny, right? Your blood cells and they're crowded in there. But they have to change a protein on them to get from one blood cell to the next to be undetected in the blood. So it won't get your cytokines and T cells and all that activated to attack it. So it's real stealthy. And it's amazing. And it's a single cell organism. So it's just amazing how it does that. And then if you look at the pictures, once the blood cells burst and stuff, it's awful. It's just an awful, awful disease.
That's sad.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So let's talk about a few more viruses and parasites mosquitoes can spread. I think some of you will, be familiar with some. We're just going to call this one is elephantitis. And there are several different, the proper name is lymphatic filariasis, which is elephantiasis. And there are 3 different filarial species, which is the nematode, which is a roundworm parasite that can cause elephantiasis in humans. It affects over 120 million people in 73 countries throughout the tropics and subtropics of Asia, Africa, and the Western Pacific, also parts of the Caribbean and South America. A wide range of mosquitoes can transmit the parasite depending on the geographic area, and the painful and profoundly disfiguring visible manifestations of the disease can lead to permanent disability. And Dalaney and I are looking at a picture of it right now.
Yeah, everyone can look it up. It's sad. I mean, it really does just swell. In this picture, it swells their legs up, the person's legs up really bad.
And it disfigures you.
Yeah.
And I don't think it goes away.
Oh my gosh.
So to me, it's just amazing how something so small can transmit so many viruses and parasites and cause so much damage.
Yeah.
I mean, you need a microscope to see this stuff.
Right.
So yellow fever, that's something most people have heard about.
Mm-hmm.
It's a virus, and it's found in tropical and subtropical areas in South America and Africa. There are an estimated 200,000 cases of yellow fever, causing 30,000 deaths worldwide each year, with 90% occurring in Africa. The virus is transmitted to humans primarily through the bite of infected mosquitoes. The majority of persons infected with yellow fever viruses have no illness or only mild symptoms. However, roughly 15% of the cases that do develop symptoms progress to develop a more severe form of the disease. The severe form is characterized by high fever, jaundice, bleeding, and eventually shock and failure of multiple organs. So there is a vaccination for this virus, and it is the most important preventive measure against yellow fever that they have. But it's kind of amazing, isn't it, Dalaney, that most people don't even know they've been infected with it.
That is wild. Did yellow fever ever break out in the US? Was there ever a huge breakout? Okay, I'll have to look that up. I feel like I read a historical fiction book based on a breakout of yellow fever in the US, but I'll have to look that up.
Okay, I'm going to look it up right now. It says when was the last outbreak in the United States, and that occurred in 1905 when New Orleans and other parts of the South were invaded. So there you go. Interesting.
Oh, wait. Okay. I looked up the book. It's called Fever 1793, and it's a historical novel following a girl living in Philadelphia based on the true events of when they had a huge outbreak in Philly of yellow fever and what happened. So
very interesting.
It was a really cool book. So anyways,
maybe we can link that in the show notes, or so that people can link it and go buy it and read that. That would be cool.
Okay. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, so West Nile fever was first isolated in a woman in the West Nile district of Uganda in 1937. In 1999, it circulated in Israel and Tunisia and was imported to New York and is now ever present in the U.S. annually.
Yes. It was a big concern when we lived in Arizona, especially for the livestock. So it can be transmitted to horses, cattle as well. I don't know, but
yes, and they think the horses, they have a vaccine for them.
Yes, they do. Yeah,
and
it's such a problem.
Yes, it was definitely a problem. And when we got a new horse, we had to isolate it from the other horses. And a vet had to come check it. And yes, that was a very big concern in Arizona. So in 2014, there were more than 2,200 cases in the US, including nearly 100 deaths. It has been detected in dozens of mosquito species, and up to 80% of people who become infected with West Nile virus do not develop any symptoms. So again, it can be deadly, but 80% of the people don't get any symptoms. About 20% of people who become infected with the virus will develop West Nile fever. Symptoms include fever, headache, tiredness, body aches, nausea, vomiting, occasionally a skin rash on the trunk of the body, and swollen lymph glands. Less than 1% of people who are infected will develop a serious neurological illness such as encephalitis or meningitis, which is inflammation of the brain or surrounding tissues. Of this number, about 10% will die. Now, this is my question, Dalaney. Isn't this interesting that a lot of the viruses have the same symptoms, the headaches, tiredness, body aches, etc.? And do you ever wonder when someone in your family is sick and you think, oh, they have the flu, which is a virus, but they have the flu, and you think, wow, I never got it. The rest of the family never gets it. You have this one poor child who's sick. I have to wonder if maybe they were bit by a mosquito, and they just have the symptoms of something else, but we don't take them to the hospital because we just assume it's, something else.
Right. Yeah. It's just when people are tired, have headaches, this and that, everyone treats that at home. It's not anything that's to us escalated or major. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless it escalates, then we go to the hospital. But I'm starting to wonder, and as I'm much older, obviously, than you are.
Weird.
Weird how that works. And you've just in the past seen how you're like, wow, that one child or person, the husband or wife or whatever, got sick in the family and no one else did. And they're like, yeah, we have really strong immune systems. We never got it. And I'm thinking, well, hopefully they do have strong immune systems, but maybe they got bit by a mosquito on that, cookout they were at, and that's how they actually got sick.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I don't know if anybody's looked into that.
Or cares, right?
I like it. It is the Dalaney and Mary theory.
Okay, so we're going to move on to dengue fever, which as many as 400 million people are infected yearly. Dengue is caused by any one of 4 related viruses transmitted by mosquitoes. The principal symptoms of dengue fever are high fever, severe headache, severe pain behind the eyes, joint pain, muscle and bone pain, rash and mild bleeding from like the nose, gums, and easy bruising. Generally, young children and those with their first dengue infection have a mild illness than older children and adults. This is really interesting because when I was over in Korea when I was really young and in the military, I came back, I was very sick. And I do remember one of the symptoms, and I had gone to a different island off Korea that was not inhabited by too many people. It was a little bit of a tourist destination. But as we said in the first episode, well, you and we both traveled all around, and I didn't really pay attention to people saying, don't drink the water, don't do this, don't eat this food. As we said, we were foodies. And so I don't know what I came down with, but I was extremely ill to where my bowel movements were almost white. I couldn't get off the couch. I just remember the pain behind the eyes. I always remembered that. And I was so sick, and I went to a military hospital where they told me I was just homesick or whatever,
Homesick? That's why your poop is white?
The females, they just want to blame it on menopause or depression. That's every female has either one of the two, according to the allopathic doctors. So anyway, the second time I went in, I was almost dead, and your poor grandmother was taking me and was scared to death. And I had to yell at the person to take, the first time they took a thyroid panel, that was it. So the second time, they did the full blood test. And then when I went back to see him, he laughed at me. He said, "Oh, thank goodness that these came up all screwed up. Your liver is just really horrible, because we were going to have a straitjacket here for you."
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's
Yeah.
what was that, the 80s?
Yeah, that was in the 80s.
That's
And
oh my gosh.
they just didn't want to pay attention to me. So anyway, my body, apparently, it took a while. It took maybe 2 months to get over that. And I have no idea what it was.
And your results came back screwy, and he was like, "Oh, good thing you lived through that. Bye." Like, did they even give you anything to help it?
That's exactly what they did, Dalaney. How did you know?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did, because by then I could actually walk. And so then they said, well, I was getting stationed somewhere else, just go have them run the panels again. And that's fine. I did. And I was getting better and better. So I have no idea what it was. But yeah, big clue. I came back from a foreign country, went to a part of that foreign country where most people didn't go. I thought it was something in the food, but I have no idea. Thinking back now, and in Korea, there are lots of mosquitoes, things like that. So I have no idea what I got, but I'm better now.
And we really created food, so it didn't scar you too bad.
Exactly. Okay, so let's get on. We're going to do Zika fever.
The Zika. I feel like this was a huge thing. It's like, Zika. Okay, continue.
It was I think in 2015, they sprayed all of Florida. They oversprayed, as I think. And I think they were just up in airplanes dropping DEET everywhere.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I think they still do, because I was playing beach volleyball with some friends, and there was probably 4 of us there, not very many. And the people came around to do the spraying, because we're right next, the volleyball court was right next to commercial buildings. And they just sprayed like we weren't even there. And I was like, we're all like, oh, great, we're going to get cancer. We're all gonna die breathing this in. Can you just wait till we leave? Anyways.
Yeah, I understand people, is trying to abate all the little suckers that want to kill us and spread disease. But yeah, it would be nice for some warning. I know in Florida,
I don't want to breathe it in for the hour that I'm outside.
Yeah, when I was, I think in Maryland, they do it super early in the morning at 3 a.m. But in Florida, when I was visiting your grandmother, I would be walking around and stuff was flying from everywhere. The sky, it didn't matter, people in trucks. They spray that stuff all the time where she was located.
Oh my gosh.
But I think it was in 2015, and they did all that, and they were trying to get pregnant. They were scaring pregnant women, because I do think it does affect the fetus. I'm not really sure about that one.
Okay. It's a toxic chemical. You really shouldn't breathe in a lot of it.
Well, I meant the virus. Yeah.
Oh, the virus. Okay.
I'm not really sure, but then I think that was proven wrong, because in different country, and I'm thinking it was Belize, but I'm not really sure, that 90% of the people there have test positive for antibodies for it, have had it. Yeah. So.
Oh, I do remember the whole thing about pregnant women. You're right, because I feel like I might have 2015. Yeah, I knew people who were pregnant and wouldn't go outside because of that.
Yeah.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah. So they said that Zika virus is transmitted through the bite of an infected mosquito, the same mosquitoes that spread dengue. I don't know if I already said that. If symptomatic, symptoms are generally mild fever, rash, joint pain, or red eyes. Severe disease requiring hospitalization is uncommon, and deaths have not been reported.
Okay. Well, we could just keep talking about this. We really like talking about this stuff, but probably don't have the time. So we're just going to name a few more viruses that are spread by mosquitoes, and then we'll start talking about how we can avoid mosquito bites, because I think that's something that, myself included, we'd all really like to know. So some other common viruses that are spread by mosquitoes include Ross River fever, Eastern equine encephalitis. I think I got that. Japanese encephalitis, and then lacrosse encephalitis. Oh, sorry, that just makes me think of the sport, so that's pretty funny. Speaking of lacrosse, I'm going to read a little bit about this one because it just so happens that here in the US, the lacrosse encephalitis virus, or LACV, is transmitted to humans by the bite of an infected mosquito, and most cases occur in the upper Midwestern and Mid-Atlantic and Southeastern states. Cool. It was reported first in 1963 in La Crosse, Wisconsin, among people who became ill. Initial symptoms included fever, headache, nausea, vomiting, and tiredness. Again, things we discussed that those sound like flu symptoms. Some of those who became ill also developed disease that affects the nervous system. And in rare cases, long-term disability or death can result from the lacrosse encephalitis. There's also the St. Louis encephalitis. There you go. Okay, so another one in the US, St. Louis encephalitis, SLE, is transmitted to humans through the bite of an infected mosquito. Mosquitoes contract the virus when feeding on infected birds. And then pass the virus to humans. Wild birds such as sparrows, pigeons, blue jays, and robins, which, if most people don't know, those are the most common birds that will end up in your yard. I can look outside right now and see half of those are primarily hosts of SLEV. Humans are dead end hosts, meaning that once infected with the virus, they cannot transmit it to other humans. Some silver lining. Transmissions of the virus occurs primarily in late summer and early fall in temperate areas and occurs year-round. Most people infected with it have no apparent illness, and initial symptoms of those who become ill include, guess what? Fever, headache, nausea, vomiting, and tiredness. Severe neuroinvasive disease occurs more commonly in older adults. In rare cases, long-term disability or death can result. I feel like I'm reading the disclaimers at the end of a drug commercial on the TV where it's like, and all of these things can happen that are exactly the same as if you weren't taking the drug. Several epidemics have occurred sporadically throughout the US, with the majority of cases occurring in eastern and central states.
Yeah, so who gave you a birdhouse for Christmas? And now what do you have in your yard?
Well, see, okay, you gave me a birdhouse, which is really great, but the ones that we listed, I guess sparrows, we don't have those. We have house wrens in our bird box.
I thought they were bluebirds.
It's a bluebird box, but bluebirds are very picky and delicate, apparently. So
because you scared them off.
I did no such thing. Actually, some house swallows tried to take. Okay, this is the saga of my birdhouse. Bluebirds instantly moved in, and I was really, really pumped. Then the house sparrows came, also natural to the US. That's great. It's fine, whatever. But they're much more. Swallows are the ones you see swooping around constantly. Like, most people know barn swallows. Like, if you go to a barn, they're the birds that are just like moving super fast and constantly swooping at you. So house swallows moved in. Okay, fine. Not a like, they're pretty and native and great, but I was like really excited about the bluebirds because they're so sweet. And anyways, I don't know how, but this little bitty house wren, look up house wrens. They are little bitty bitty birds with their tail that sticks straight up to the sky. It's hilarious. They beat out all the other birds, and they're the ones building a nest in there right now. And it's crazy to me because I feel like the swallows could have taken them out. But we have house wrens, also native to the US, so we're very happy to have them. If they were house sparrows, those are an invasive bird that do bully other birds and will kill them over their nests. And if those had shown up, we would have had to move all the nesting material out to keep them from nesting there.
Cool. The little house wren. I'm looking at a
Isn't
picture
he
now.
cute? They're so fat and like their little
And their little tail,
sticking out.
yeah. So I guess it'd be she. She kicked ass because she needed a nest, or was
for
it?
birds, males usually find the nesting site and then attract females to it. Then the females do all the hard work of adding the nesting material, but the guys pick out the spot, attract the female, be like, ooh, build a nest in my spot. You don't see me shimmying, but I'm shimmying like the guys do. Like, build it here. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah.
Well, that makes sense. So this little male house wren just kicked someone out of an existing house and is going to pretend it's his and attract a female.
And it, like, those swallows were it was so funny. At one point, I'd get up in the morning because I can look right out my window where I work and look. Okay, so the house swallows would be there in the morning, and then in the afternoon, the house wren would show up, and it was really funny because I don't think for a while either of them knew that the other one was there.
Kind of like the movie The Others. Oh, I would just, okay.
I've never seen that. I don't know.
Did a spoiler at the end. They didn't know the others were there. Interesting. Okay. Nicole Kidman, alert. Pretty good. Okay, what are a few more? And then we have
Western equine encephalitis. I feel like everything is it's called WEE. WEE. Then there's chikungunya.
That's the one. I have no idea.
Chikungunya. I don't know.
But we'll call it the C virus.
Okay.
The C virus.
The C virus.
It's CHIKUNGUNYA.
Okay. Anyways, that's it. Let's move on.
Yes, it's time to move on. Okay, so wow, that was quite an eye-opener. So let's talk about some simple, easy things everyone can do to help prevent getting bitten and possibly lower the mosquito population. First, I would suggest listeners Google mosquito and vector control and then put in the state and city they live in and see what comes up. Also, call your local health department and find what government offices provide abatement control for mosquitoes. I know in Arizona, they had a great program. We had flood irrigation, and once the fields were irrigated, there would still be a lot of standing water, and you could call them and they put non-hazardous chemicals in the water to kill the larvae. And so it was probably some natural enzyme, but I know it was non-hazardous. And they also provided fly traps to put on the fencing around the horses. It was this really stinky material. Do you remember, Dalaney? And you would pour it in these fly traps and the flies would get attracted to it, but they couldn't get out.
Yeah, I do remember that. It was like a big, they like went down into that like muck stuff and got stuck.
Yeah, it was really gross and stinky, but it really kept the flies down. And then when you were through the bottles that you used to fill up the fly traps, you just put those out. You called them and you put them out in front of your house, and they would give you fresh ones and collect the old bottles. So their program was really efficient, and they really worked hard at keeping the mosquitoes away naturally. And I think we had bats down there too. By calling those agencies, you'll get some idea of what is offered in your area and how they can keep the mosquitoes away. So now we're going to talk about things you can do to keep the mosquitoes away on your own. So first off, I can tell you that oranges, lemons, lavender, basil, and catnip naturally produce oils that repel mosquitoes and are generally pleasant to the nose.
Wow, yeah, oranges and lemons, really?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Their bitter, citrusy smell is one that mosquitoes tend to avoid unless they're really hungry.
Is that why they're called Citronella?
Yes.
Candles, because they're made with like citrus-based stuff? Okay, sorry.
Well, and Citronella is a plant you can buy and put on your patio.
Oh, nice.
You can also make up a natural mosquito repellent made from essential oils, and we'll have that recipe in the show notes at the website, and it's a really good recipe. You can also buy natural repellents. I personally use Herbal Armor by All Terrain. I use that, but you can also go to Amazon and look up natural mosquito repellent, and that will come up with a lot of options. And if we've scared you and you feel you need something with DEET, by all means, there's always Off and Cutter. I believe they both have DEET, and they're in your local grocery stores.
Yeah, I think those brands make different versions with and without DEET, so you do have to look for it. But
they do. I was looking up some natural ones, and I think Cutter has come out with a natural one. But you can also look back of the bottles, and they have different levels of DEET now in them. So some have less, some have more. And here are some ways to manage mosquitoes on your property. You can make sure screens are intact. Get rid of standing water, even in buckets. It doesn't matter. Just, after it's rained, go turn over all the unused flower pots, things like that, because it just doesn't matter. Mosquitoes will find any kind of water to lay their eggs in. Use fans when gathering outdoors. This is really popular in the South. People have them on their front porches. They'll just install overhead fans.
Yeah. Fans is like, it's kind of like when you have a breezy night. If you sit outside, you notice that it's less buggy. It's just the breeze makes it harder for them to kind of annoy you, I guess, be around you.
Yes. And when you go to like Chincoteague Island on the beach, it's very breezy. And then dead of summer with all the mosquitoes, you'll see the horses out there because the breeze keeps the mosquitoes down. Attract natural predators, which we like to do, like bats, birds, turtles, frogs, fish, and dragonflies. And grow pest repelling plants like lemongrass and catnip. We had a huge bush of catnip in our garden in Colorado for our cat. She loved the catnip. I think it attracted pumas. It was so big.
That's awesome. Oh my goodness. Another thing, so my friend, her family has a place on Cape Cod, and what they've learned from the houses up there, the reason way back when people used to paint the ceiling of their kind of sun deck or whatever, you paint it blue, and that also helps keep the bugs down. They don't really know why it works, but it's kind of an old wives' tale thing. But they did that on their porch, and it really does keep the bugs down in there. So I don't know why, but that's pretty cool. Well, this was a very information-packed episode. And I again want to thank the listener that suggested this topic. I know Mom had a lot of fun researching it. And if you want to know even more info on mosquitoes and outbreaks in the US, I mean, that's where we are, by state, etc., here's a helpful website. It's the Vector Disease Control website, and you can find there's a great article on current mosquito situation in the US. So that is www.vdci.net/blog/2018-year-in-review-mosquito-borne-disease. We'll also put that in the show notes, because that was a lot, but very interesting website. Well, thanks everyone for listening. And again, we want to hear from you guys. We always want to hear from you guys. Please, please, please reach out to us. And here are just a few ways that you can do that. You can reach out via Instagram and Facebook. Find us at Salty About Health. Even Snapchat at Salty Health. You can email us at saltyabouthealth@gmail.com. Or if you just want to find all that in one place, check out our website, saltyabouthealth.com. We've got all the ways for you to listen and connect there. And finally, if you like what you hear today, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. We really appreciate it. So, Mom, if they want to hear from you on social media, where can they find you?
Okay, I am a certified health coach and I do coach one-on-one. So if you're interested, you can contact me at mary@feedyourselfhealthy.com. I also do research for people who are interested in finding alternative approaches to do in conjunction with the health issue or illness their doctor is treating them for. So again, just reach out to me at mary@feedyourselfhealthy.com or follow me on Twitter at feedyourselfhealthy, which is spelled FeedUrselfHLThy. That's where they can find me.
Cool. Okay. And if you guys want to find me, I'm not a health coach, but I'm on Instagram hanging out there at Dalaney.a. Find out how to spell my name in the show notes and everything. And of course, I'll be the one mainly keeping an eye on the social media. So always happy to chat with you guys via the Salty Network. Also, just want to shout out our intro and outro music. It is by Yule, and you can find her at www.yulearts.com. That's EULARTS. You can also find her on Instagram at Yule_arts or Spotify and YouTube. Check her out. Her piano music and everything else is amazing. And until next time, stay salty.
Stay salty.